So if you remember last week, I put together some arrows that I was going to plan on using for elk season this year. Well, elk season is not going to happen for us due to the coronavirus and that sort of thing. Me and my buddy decided to set that off another year just because of the uncertainty. So what I'm going to do today is first I'm going to paper tune it, and then I'm going to chronograph it, and I'm going to compare the speed from that new arrow to my old arrows, and then we're going to do a penetration test and do a noise level test just to see how much noise difference there is between a 4-fletch and the old 3-fletch. So come with us. So don't laugh at my improvised paper tuning device, but it works. All right, we got a bit of right tear, so I'm going to move my rest accordingly. I like it. I'm going to stick with that right there. Didn't take much.
No.
I love that. And real quick, last week on our YouTube or on our Instagram, we did a little contest of who can guess the arrow weight in grains. And I want to mention Jarrett Crew, who not only guessed the closest, but he actually got it right on. So congrats, Jarrett. The total arrow weight was 658. And that's what you shared on our Instagram. Appreciate that, buddy. All right, now that we're paper tuned, what we just did is I set up the chronograph just to test the two arrows. First, that 658 grain elk hunting arrow, and then my standard arrow that I've hunted with in the past, which is a 340 spine gold tip with a 100 grain tip on it, and it grains out, or it weighs out at about 410 total, which has killed several animals, several deer, and it's a common weight that everybody uses. But we're going to compare the speed difference in that. So we got 228 feet per second, which in these times is not very fast. But you're talking to a guy who shot traditional archery for a long time and averaged 165 feet per second with a 600 grain arrow. So going to 228 is fast. So what we're going to do is we know the number of that for 658 grains. Let's shoot the 410 grain arrow and see what we get there. So 283 feet per second at 410 grains, which isn't bad. But like I said, when we built these arrows, or when I built these arrows, my sole purpose was just to get a little bit more up front, to get the better penetration. So if we did the math on the kinetic energy, I am going to guess I'm in upwards of 85 foot-pounds of kinetic energy at 228 feet per second. And probably with 283 feet per second with a 410 grain arrow, I'm probably in the 70s, 72, right around in there, I'm guessing. So I'm going to continue this summer, rest of the spring and the summer, to shoot that 658 grain arrow and see how well I like it. Again, my shots aren't typically far, within 40 yards for deer season. And if that arrow flies well for me with the 4-fletch and that sort of thing, I may hunt with that. And what that'll do is give me an idea what kind of penetration I'm going to have on elk. Now, you're talking a smaller animal compared to an elk, but at least give me a reference on how well my setup's going to do. So what we're going to do next is I am going to put some broadheads on these arrows, and we'll do a penetration test. Okay, so what I've done is I just attached my broadheads to the broadhead I'm going to use for elk hunting, and then the broadhead I used for deer season. Both a fixed blade broadhead, 100 grain G5, I believe it's a striker of some sort, and then the 200 grain cutthroat single bevel. So I know several YouTube channels and that sort of stuff have tested broadheads into shoulders and wood and all that sort of stuff. All I'm doing is this is the target that I'm going to practice shoot my broadheads into. It's a brand new target. I just want to get an idea if there's any penetration difference. So not apples to apples, that sort of thing. And this attempt has been done several times in the past, so we're not trying to compare what others have done, but just a test for myself. Okay, so we're only about 10 yards here inside my barn. What I'm going to do is just shoot that distance and compare the two arrows as far as penetration. First arrow I'm going to shoot is the 658 grain arrow with the single bevel cutthroat broadhead on it. Next one just going to be my deer hunting arrow, the 410 grains with the fixed blade striker, the G5 broadhead. So let's go see. I'm gonna grab a tape measure. And both of these arrows are cut to the same length. They're both 29 inches of carbon, standard gold tip knock. One's the 4 fletch and the other one's a 3 fletch. And again, the only thing that has difference on them is the fletching and the broadhead. Pretty comparable, if I do say so myself. Looks like, just by looking at the two side by side, the 410 grain arrow, it's got a little bit further penetration than the 2-blade traditional style head. So just for measurement purposes, from the end of my nock, 25 inches for the 410 grain arrow, and 25 and 5/8. So 5/8, I got 5/8 of an inch better penetration with the 410 grain arrow. So not what I expected. I expected to see a little bit more better penetration with the heavier arrow, but 5/8 of an inch isn't too bad. Okay, the last thing I want to try is to see if there's any noise difference in the two arrows with the added fletch and the lower profile arrow compared to the standard 3 fletch with a higher profile vane. So that's what we're going to do next, and that'll be probably the last test we do for the day. Okay, so I've got a camera set up down there by the target, and I'm going to shoot probably 2 times. I'll shoot the heavy arrows twice, and then I'll shoot the 410 grain arrow twice, just to get a reference, and just to see if there's any kind of noise difference in the 4 fletch and the 3 fletch. So first one up is going to be the 4 fletch. Just happen to have 2 of those. I can definitely tell a difference in the noise of my bow shooting these heavier arrows. The bow's not as loud. Okay, now I'm going to shoot the lighter arrow. And I'll shoot this twice too, so I'll have to walk down there and get this one out. Return and shoot it again. All right, let's go down and rewind the footage, and I'm going to listen to that and just to see if there's any noticeable difference between the two fletch. You definitely hear it. Definitely a big difference in the bow. I noticed that right away. Even not only shooting it, but just listening into it back on the camera. And we're also inside this metal building, so it might have something to do with it. There's definitely a noise difference in the arrow, but like I said, the bow is definitely quieter with a heavier arrow and compared to the lighter arrow. But there is a noise difference between the two. It's subtle, but there is something there. And what I'd like to do is when the weather gets nicer and we don't have any wind, do this again outside, maybe a little bit further distance and outside of a building like that, just to be certain. But you know, face value for today, I would have to go with the heavier arrows, definitely quieter with the 4-fletch, and the boning high profile blazer vanes give off a little bit more noise, but to give it a fair assessment, I'd like to do it again outside. But well, until next time, that's going to conclude episode 2 of our Elk Arrow build. And again, I want to thank Jarrett Crew for guessing the arrow weight spot on. That's not easy to do. You did your homework. I don't know if you added up your components and you just knew what I was talking about at the time, but nonetheless, 658 was the final number, and you guessed it right. You got a hat coming your way. Until next time, good luck this year. Hunting, turkey, whatever you guys decide to do, fish, turkey hunt, whatever. Stay healthy during this COVID-19 pandemic that we're currently going through. But remember, live the will hunt life.